Hey everybody, it's Glenn back in this video with the Marvel Legends X-Men Juggernaut Bathwave. Ding 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 ding. Iceman. The side packaging art depicts him using his ice powers, and I love the facial expression drawn there. It's got character for days. Then turn into the packaging back, and oddly the figure is posed, bent down on one knee. Is it a wedding proposal? Then pictured is the Juggernaut Build-A-Figure of the Wave, and the action figures you will need to collect to build him are Wolverine, Kitty Pryde, Iceman as we have here, Havoc, Rogue, Phoenix, Cable, and Deadpool. Then the bio reads, Iceman keeps his cool in battle. Ah, you get it, Hasbro with a pun there, with his ability to turn water to ice and freeze his own body to temperatures below zero. Here is Iceman out of packaging, a big sentimental favourite of mine because I'm showing my age here, but my first exposure to anything Marvel was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, featuring Iceman and Firestar. And Hasbro, hint hint, we still need a Firestar in Legends form. So I'm often asked why I make my Marvel and not DC. Well, had the first cartoon I ever watched been a DC one, things may have played out differently. But as it was, I gravitated towards Spider-Man, and Iceman appearing in that cartoon, well, he became my gateway drug to the X-Men themselves. And it seems they were such amazing friends that all these years later, Spidey allowed Iceman to borrow his body for his very own action figure. For the most part, that is, with some additions such as his feet with bare tootsies, and then his lower limbs have jutting icicles protruding from the sculpt, which is based on a take we see in the more modern comics. Makes for a refreshing interpretation, not just in the comic art, but also in plastic, as it seems the classic, sleeker Iceman has been the default for Legends era action figures, dating back to the Toy Biz days and the version from 2005's Series 8. Not that that impulse was wrong back then, as I say, for a character's debut figure, rendered them in their most classic look. The line is called Marvel Legends after all. Nonetheless, we have to go back to pre-Legends Toy Biz to find a version that does something a bit more interesting with the sculpt. I often feel Iceman action figures fall short in that rendering a being transformed into pure ice is incredibly difficult to do in plastic. But I'm gonna call it, this is the best Iceman action figure. With his previous version from the Toys R Us exclusive all-new X-Men box set a real low bar. Yet while I can call this new one the best, it's still not great. The translucence of the plastic is very varied, with the torso looking distinct in colour from the limbs, and much of the detail in the sculpt is simply disappearing into the translucence. Maybe a darker blue paint wash would have accentuated the sculpt, or, hard as it is to try and ignore those ugly sticky out shoulders of that X-Men Classics Iceman, but focus on its dry brushing with silver paint to highlight the dimensionality of the sculpt, this new Iceman would have benefited greatly from some of that kind of treatment. Seems like it has some deco on the chest, then none except for the whites of his eyes. The spiky shards of ice on his back there are a separate plug-in piece that can be removed, yet in place it helps diffuse, I think, the length of his neck, which without it seems over long. Now looking at articulation, and the head rotates side to side, he's able to bury his chin into his chest and then looks up pretty far too. His head also has quite a substantial side to side tilt to it too. Then at the shoulder his arms rotate and they hinge up, this far, and then there's upper arm rotation followed by a double jointed elbow. Then at the wrists the hands rotate and these are hinge, moving down and up. Then from Pizza Spidey he inherits that butterfly joint so his arms move backwards and forwards. He has waist rotation and then an ab crunch which moves this far forwards and then this far back. At the hips his legs move out to the side this far, they move much further forward, and very slightly back there's upper leg rotation followed by a double jointed knee. Then at the ankles his feet are hinged, moving backwards and forwards, and he has that crazy ankle rocker pivot that I love, with this being his widest stance possible, still with both feet flat on the floor, and the limitations of that pose are owing to the hip articulation, not the ankle pivot. Here just for fun I've wedged his hands into that pre-Legends Iceman Iceman's accessories looks good enough to me that him coming with no accessories seems like a squandered opportunity, but hey, Hasbro know their budgets better than I do. Their inclusion certainly would have opened him up to more display and play possibilities, that's for sure. So all things considered, and we know this X-Men wave is a stacked one, yeah, Iceman is the first one to leave me a little disappointed. I likely don't have the right to be, as even in my opinion this is the best Iceman we've ever got, yet with my nostalgia and love for the character I was willing Hasbro to have a drop mic moment with him. Yet as it is, I'm left saying it's good, but still crossing my fingers for a greater one someday. Anyway, if you missed my look at this wave's havoc, click the video on the left to catch up. Alternatively, show the Captain America Abomination Bath wave some love by checking out my review of Captain Britain by clicking the video on the right. Please give this video a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye.